dozens of witnesses, conflicting testimonies, and one young man who seems to have simply vanished. In August of 2020, Michael Bryce wandered off from a rave in the Oregon wilderness. Hours would pass before the authorities and his parents were notified. Did he succumb to the elements, start a new life someplace else, or was it something more sinister? Underwear, alcohol, syphilis, murder, forbidden.
And we are finally really back this time.
We are. We've had a little hiatus.
Yes, we have had a little hiatus. I have been through the ringer the last 2.5 weeks. My dad passed away. So listeners, I don't know if I really talked about it that much on the podcast that my dad was sick for the past year.
Right. I think you and I mostly chatted like after
After.
recording.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's such an uplifting topic.
Well, and it's also personal,
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So it was like one of those things where he had cancer for the last year, and the cancer was not what killed him, it was the treatment that killed him. So he had some things that happened in his he originally had kidney cancer and he had the kidney removed, and then he was doing chemo and immunotherapy, and although it had spread a little bit to other areas of his body, they thought it was treatable. And it seems as though the Keytruda that he was taking, he had a bad reaction to, and it made him go into liver failure. So that's ultimately what
wow.
killed him. Yeah.
Wow. See, I didn't even. So also for listeners, like obviously, like I've been trying to give you space, and you've been having to deal with all of the things that are connected to that. So this is news to me too. Like I didn't know that is what.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had gone to see him a week before he passed away. I literally saw him, like, I left on Monday evening and he died on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Um, and had I known that he was that sick, he was like on a rebound though. He was about to get released from the hospital again, and he got released from the hospital on like Tuesday, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday morning, something like that. And then just declined very quickly that week and got put into the hospital again in Stuttgart, which is where I'm from. He was in Little Rock before, and he just went into liver failure and passed away Saturday morning on the 24th of January. So it was super sad, but I did get to say things to him before he passed away. My mom called me, and she put the phone up to his ear, and the last words that he said were "I love you" to my mom, if you can believe that.
Oh, that's
Yeah. It was really special. He was coming in and out of consciousness, and I'll kind of give you the longer story. I'll just keep it brief for here, but he came out back into consciousness and like raised his hands up to try to touch hers and said, "I love you." And then he closed his eyes again, and he passed away about 5 to 10 minutes later.
mm.
So
Well, it's a good
yeah.
thing I have not had my wine yet because I feel like a little weepy right now.
Yeah, yeah. But it's fitting. They were married almost 50 years, and my mom is really going through it right now. So I'm having to be there a lot for her. But ready to get back in here. I guess I will go ahead and welcome everyone to Forbidden, the podcast where we discuss the dark, disgusting, and the disgraceful in our unmentionables. That's right, we've slipped into something more comfortable. Have a drink in hand. Hope you are doing the same, listener. Welcome. My name is Amanda Kamada.
I am Blake Roberts.
Some cases seem to lack all reason. Others are missing just one key piece of evidence. But all of these stories have one common element. Someone has gone missing. Welcome to our limited series, Vanished.
Well, I also want to say real quick, this story, it's not one that I found. Um, we had someone write in, their name is Kale, um, from the Portland area. Shared this story with me months ago, and I've just sort of bookmarked it because we didn't have the
Oh,
right series for it. And so
yeah.
when this came up, I was like, perfect. And so I've been able to check for updates and things like that since then. So
Very cool. I love that it's a recommended topic as well.
yeah, so shout out to Kale. And let me share my sources real quick. Obviously, Kale, and then kezi.com, a local news story there. kpic.com, also a local news story. A Dateline article from 2020. And then finally, on YouTube, there's a podcast called The Murder Sheet.
Hmm.
And they did an interview with a defense attorney. But let me get into it. Allow myself to get right in here.
Yes.
So, 6 weeks after their son vanished from a remote Oregon campground, Parrish and Tina Bryson say they are no closer to answers and fear something terrible has happened. Michael Bryson, 27, of Eugene, Oregon, was last seen on Monday, August 3rd, 2020. His parents told Dateline that Michael stopped by their home in Harrisburg, Oregon that day and said he was heading to a week-long birthday party and camping trip at Hobo Camp Campground.
Oh, that sounds like a bunch of granola crunchers.
It does, and um, it
That sounds so
also
Oregon.
it does, but it also sounds so Strangers with Candy because for anyone who has watched Strangers with Candy or has listened to this podcast for a while because we've talked about Amy Sedaris and the show Strangers with Candy before, there's an episode where um, it's discovered that she's illiterate and she's trying to join the cheer squad, and you know how you have to spell things out
Right.
when you're cheering. So they say they ask her to spell out, or they spell out Victory, and they say, "What does that spell?" And she says, she goes through a few like options, but one of the things she says is hobo camp.
Hobo camp.
So and the whole time I was doing this story, I would get
You're thinking about that.
hobo
Yeah.
camp campground. So Michael Bryson is heading to this week-long birthday party and camping trip at Hobo Camp Campground, which is in about an hour southeast of Eugene. And
Okay.
if you look on a map, Hobo Camp Campground is sort of like right in the middle between Portland and the Northern California border.
I was about to say I've driven that way before when I moved from Las Vegas to Seattle. I drove up California up through Oregon. So, and I went through Eugene and I went through Northern California and stuff like that. So I was like, gosh, that sounds like it's probably fairly close to California.
Yeah, not too
Yeah.
far. So um, he had planned to ride up with a friend, but the gathering turned out to be more than a casual camping trip. According to his parents, between 40 and 60 people were present
Holy shit.
with
That's a
loud,
lot.
yeah, with loud music, alcohol, and drugs. Parish, excuse me, Parish Bryson said Michael was there Monday and Tuesday, and that the DJ at the party, described as a rave, invited Michael on stage to perform a set. But by next morning, he was gone. Witnesses told investigators that in the early morning of Wednesday, August 5th, Michael was last seen near a large bus parked at the campsite. According to Tina Bryson, Michael became upset, walked away from the bus, and was not seen again. Detective Richard Smith of the Lane County Sheriff's Office told Dateline that Michael reportedly wandered away from a group of friends at approximately 4:30 a.m., heading in an unknown direction. Michael left his camping gear behind, his phone was powered off, and he has not accessed his bank account since. Michael's parents said they were not notified that their son was missing until 5 p.m. that evening, about 12 hours after he was last seen. They immediately drove to the area where Lane County Sheriff's Office search and rescue teams were already conducting searches by land and water. Tina said, quote, "People weren't looking for Michael. They were sitting around, drinking, eating, laughing. Nobody was out searching for him. I felt in my gut something had happened. For days, hundreds of volunteers joined deputies to scour miles of rugged, heavily wooded terrain. Searchers combed the area on foot, on horseback, and with drones. Despite the massive effort, no trace of Michael was found, and search and rescue teams reported no signs of foul play. So truly vanished at this point, like no clues at this
That's
point.
so fucking crazy. Like they didn't have any like footprints or trail or any sort of thing left behind.
No.
Wow.
So from the beginning, Michael's parents say the accounts from partygoers conflicted. One story is that he walked away from camp and fell victim to nature. The other is that a group of individuals picked him up on the road. Another theory suggests Michael may have been walking along Bryce Creek Road and was struck by a drunk driver who fled the scene. Because there's a lot of people like going camping and like drinking, like out at the
Wouldn't they have
campground.
found his body though?
You
If
would
that
think
would have
so.
happened?
I
Yeah.
mean, from what I understand, it's sort of mountainous and very rugged. So I guess if you're walking along like a steep ledge and you get clipped, you could just like have vanished over an edge somewhere.
Yeah,
But
that's
I haven't driven this
terrifying.
road, so I can't really speak to that. I don't really know what it looks like.
Yeah. But I'm sure there are roads like that
Yeah.
in those areas. Yeah.
And I did go to Google Maps and I did sort of look around a little bit and it is, I mean, it
Rugged
looks like
terrain.
somewhere, yeah,
Yeah.
like you probably have just a good chance at finding Bigfoot out there.
Right.
According to his parents, tips received by investigators support multiple theories. Michael's parents also say they never received clear answers from many of the people who were at the party. Most left the campground the day Michael disappeared and continued hosting raves and gatherings elsewhere. Because remember, this was intended to be like a week-long thing, so I think they just like caravanned, like picked up.
Like we're out of here,
Yeah, like this is a bummer. Let's
relocate.
yeah. So a little bit of background. There were two buses. Um, a pair of twins, two girls hosted the party, and I guess they owned the buses, so they like brought all the people up and like had a DJ. Um, there were other campers frustrated with the partiers, right? Because you're out here in the wilderness to like get away from it all, and then you hear, down around the hill, you hear like a DJ and people
Right.
partying. Super, I would be irritated by that too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, if I were, like, camping or something and it was, like, a big trip that I had planned or whatever, not that I would camp, but, you
oh
know.
no, no, because this kind of shit happens. No, thank you.
Right, right.
There was some stories saying that there were some like disgruntled people that were like coming into the camp and like being aggressive. There's another story that says Michael may have owed money to a drug dealer and that they had come to like collect, and maybe that went sour. Some testimony stated that he had had a conflict with someone shortly before he disappeared, which could have been that drug dealer. There was another story that he maybe had a conflict with one of the twins about something. The stories given by some of the people at the party are inconsistent, and Michael's parents believe they know more than they're letting on. Still, a few people stayed behind to search, so not everyone picked up and left. The Bryces stayed at the campground for 19 days looking for their son.
Holy shit, that's a long time.
It is, and understandable, right? Like,
Yeah.
because again, it's that thing of,
You would just feel helpless,
yeah,
and it's like, what if you left and then they found him, and then you would feel horrible for the rest of your life because you didn't stick around to try to find him.
right. And what are you going to do? Go back home and just sit there and wait for the phone to ring? That's also miserable.
Yeah.
So 19 days, I get it. A reward for information quickly grew, and friends raised $10,000 for any information. So time passes, summer closes, fall settles in, and then on December 11th, several items were discovered near a swimming hole about a mile from Hobo Camp campground. The area is visible from the road and had reportedly been searched multiple times earlier. Among items found were articles of Michael's clothing, including his distinctive white Crocs with rainbow designs. Parrish confirmed that the items belonged to Michael. He said, "I'm 99.9% sure those items were planted." This location is difficult to access while wearing Crocs, leading the family to believe the items may have been placed there later. However, investigators also acknowledge it's possible the items were previously hidden by foliage and missed during earlier searches. Michael's parents describe him as compassionate, open hearted, and deeply loyal. His father said, he has a big heart and it's always for other people. Michael had traveled twice to Africa on mission trips, experiences that deeply affected him. To commemorate that time, he had a tattoo of two hands shaking with the words, "Stay strong, my brother." And I'll try and add, I found some photos of those tattoos and I'll add them to the YouTube um, as, for identification purposes.
Mm-hmm.
The Brysons have been open about Michael's struggles with addiction, but say it never defined him. He didn't know a stranger, Parrish said. He had love for everybody he met. He never judged anyone. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Michael had been working at a local bar and grill and told his parents he was interested in becoming an electrician. Music, however, remained his passion. He was frequently invited to DJ events across Oregon, including the one where he was last seen. Parrish said, quote, "That's the hard part. We were really seeing a passionate change, and now this. He would never just leave. Even in his toughest times, he always contacted us." Now, months later, hope remains, but it is fragile. When I say months, at this point, it's 6 years, right?
Yeah.
The Bryce's hope now is that someone will come forward with information. Michael is described as 6 feet tall, about 180 pounds, with short brown hair and hazel eyes. He was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, tan shorts, and white Crocs with rainbows. He may also have been wearing a brown corduroy baseball cap. He has multiple tattoos on his legs, ribs, and arms. Detective Smith confirmed to Dateline that Michael's disappearance remains an active investigation. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Lane County Sheriff's Office. That $10,000 reward remains available. And Parrish said, quote, "We just want the truth. We want Michael back." And I also just wanted to point out that February 3rd was National Missing Persons Day. So
Oh,
it's the timing is sort of right to tell these types of stories.
yeah.
You can also find more information on the Facebook page, Let's Find Michael Bryce. It's still very active and is also a resource for other families that have lost loved ones in that same area. So his family's also actively trying to help other families with similar
Wow.
stories. And it's interesting too. I didn't get to spend too much time researching it, but there were other stories of missing people in this same area. You get a lot of people out here who are just trying to sort of escape society. So there are
Mm-hmm.
people who camp long term, who are out there for months or who knows, maybe even longer. And I mean, you sort of have to question why. Some of the people, I get it, right? I just want to be off the grid. Like, I'm sick of hearing what's going on in the world. But then you have the other side of it where people are maybe trying to escape something. And if you
Mm-hmm.
cross paths with the wrong person, there's no
Yeah,
trust.
because then conversely, there are people who are just sinister and maybe aren't psychologically all with it, and they're getting away because they're like, oh, this is a place where I could easily attack somebody or commit a crime and nobody would ever know about it.
Right. And there have been murders out there. I think I read about one from the late 70s about a couple that was murdered and left behind. And I think that case actually was solved by DNA years later, but the person who had committed the crime had already died. Or maybe I'm combining two stories. But anyway, and then there's many unsolved, like, missing persons cases there as well.
So he would be around 33-ish now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's such a like crazy story because you would think with like 60 give or take a few people, 60-ish people around like that somebody would have had some sort of information,
Right.
that made sense. But then again, I sit back and I think, okay, these are a lot of young people.
Partying.
There's probably a lot of drugs and alcohol being consumed during this week, and there could have been so many people that didn't even realize for those hours that he was gone. Because sometimes when you get like fucked up and you kind of want to be by yourself and you go and just hang out somewhere in the woods or whatever by yourself, and
Yeah.
maybe they thought he was just off doing something by himself, but it just is so it just seems like something bad happened though, because he left them at like 4:30 in the morning, like the middle of the night.
Right. And there's a little bit more information too on that is you're exactly right, right? It's 4:30 in the morning. People have been drinking, people have been doing drugs. By that point, probably a lot of people are passed out. And the ones that aren't probably aren't going to have a great recollection of what
No.
transpired at 4:30 a.m. The other piece of it is for those people that are waking up early, right? They're not even going to know about this yet. And there was a group of friends who decided, we're going to get in the vehicle, we're going to drive down to town, and we're going to go to the sheriff's office. So they do this, they go into town, and I think between the campground and town, they talk themselves out of going to the sheriff's office. So instead, what they did was they went and asked some like local businesses, like the diner and things like that. It's like maybe he hitched a
Oh, if they
ride.
had seen him, yeah.
And during this time, they said, let's go back. He's probably back. Because in most cases, that probably would be true, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
worst case scenario. No one's hoping, no one's expecting that. So they got back into the vehicle, went back to camp. And then when they realized he still wasn't there, that's around the time when they went back to town and were like, okay, now we're going to the police. And so, yeah, it
Right.
was 12 hours before even the parents were notified
Right.
because of that. So, yeah, it was just sort of a series of there were there were enough wrong things happening, like not going directly to the sheriffs. And I understand the thought process. Yeah, it wasn't the right choice. Uh,
Mhm.
and then all of the substances that were involved. Um,
Yeah, because when I think of rave, I think, like Molly, GHB, acid, like mushrooms. I mean, there is a host of things
yeah,
that you could be doing that lasts, and those highs on a lot of those types of drugs last for a long time. So that's why I think too that people wouldn't be aware of what was going on or who might be missing or who's still there or whatever, because you're in your own fucking world for hours.
yeah, and it's truly just not a clean story at all because if this were a small group of friends camping and they were drinking and doing drugs, that's one thing. But you're adding layers to it by having 40 to 60 people and a DJ, and they're ticking off the neighboring campers. So now you're saying, well, it could have been one of those campers was drunk and ticked off, and then
And
they
they
did
killed him,
something. Yeah,
killed him, or
right.
or hurt him or
Right.
something, and then yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Or it could be, yeah, it could be that he wandered off and he was wearing Crocs, so maybe his foot got caught in something.
some like crazy, and he fell off the side of the cliff or something. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like it's a super safe area to be if you're like under the influence
right.
walking around.
Yeah, and I would assume it's Oregon. I would assume there's bears, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh, 100%.
so there's
Yeah.
just any there's so many things that could have happened,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it must just be mind-boggling to be the parents, especially right when this is happening, to be running through all of those scenarios in your head.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Yeah. Or did he just die? And I'm just so surprised they haven't found anything except for those, I guess, his articles of clothing that they found. That's not promising, but it's surprising that they haven't found more. But yeah, those areas can get so dicey. and it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, I'm sure. And it probably gets snow in the winters and stuff like that. So they probably can't search as much in the winter time and stuff like that. Because you said this happened in August, right?
It happened in August, yeah. So then you've got fall. So you've got all except for the evergreens. You've got like the deciduous. Is that the right word? The deciduous
Yeah,
trees where they lose the leaves.
lose the
Now you've got
leaves.
like a layer of things there, and then you've got
Mhm.
the snow. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's just like so many things happening that make it
Yeah.
a really difficult case.
Yeah.
So
That's a really sad story. I
yeah,
mean, he probably went there with the greatest of intentions to have a good time. And
yeah,
then 6 years later, he's still missing. That's wild.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. I'm glad though that there's still an active social media presence for him and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it is active. It's not just them posting, but there are other people posting in the group, and um, I think too because they've made it such a community thing. Like it's not just about finding Michael Bryce; it's about finding anyone who's missing. So I think that's done a lot to bring people in and keep them engaged because it's not just the one thing. It's we need to really help all of these people.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how many people vanish every year. I think that's a stat I probably need to look up for the next episode
Yeah,
because I'm just curious, because like this thing with like kind of going back to the Savannah Guthrie's mom thing. I mean, it just seems so like, wow, how does that happen? That just seems so rare. But then again, like I always see stuff about missing people. It just so happens that her daughter is, this famous journalist, and so it's obviously going to get out even more. If this were any other 86-year-old grandma from somewhere, would it be getting this amount of
right.
attention?
It would be a
Probably
silver.
not.
It would be a silver alert.
Silver alert. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Um my wonder is, when are they going to do a dateline on this? On the Savannah Guthrie thing. I'm
right.
surprised they haven't. But I guess it's like too soon.
Yeah, and who knows? It's things move so quickly that by the time they even got production together for it, it could be solved.
Solved, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. Because Dateline is like a news magazine. It takes a hot minute to put those episodes together.
yeah,
It's not like our podcast where we come and just sit and talk for 30 to 45 minutes and then
right.
do a little zhuzhing, massaging it, and then, I mean,
Yeah.
theirs is a massive process. Have you been following Savannah Guthrie's mom's disappearance? Because you're in Arizona and she's
Hmm.
in Tucson, which is pretty far away, but I mean, it's in the same state.
Yeah.
And
2 hours. It's not too far.
yeah, that lady has been gone now for, I believe today is day 13, where they have not found her yet, unless some sort of breaking news has happened since I left work today.
Right. And between the day that we're recording right now and when this actually goes live, hopefully
Right.
there will be updates
Yeah.
that we're not talking
Hopefully
about.
positive ones. Yes.
Yeah. I I don't know. I guess I don't want to be pessimistic, but I don't have like
Yeah.
at this point after 13 days, but who
I feel like a
knows?
lot of time has gone by. Yeah.
As the fact that there was blood at the scene,
Yes.
and I would guess it's like a small amount
Mhm.
based on I don't know and I don't know I don't want to like speculate, but
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I don't even know, like, I can't figure out if these notes, these ransom notes that they're getting, if they're, like, legitimate or not either. You know what I mean?
right,
Is it someone just fucking with them? Is
the
it,
one
like,
was for
real?
sure,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And so it's kind of one of those things where I don't know. The longer the longer things draw out, the longer she's missing, the less likely I think it's going to have a positive outcome, unfortunately.
yeah,
Yeah. And that would be terrifying. Like, that's what's always, like, I just lost my dad, and that really fucking sucks, and I'm going through my own stages of grief with that and all that kind of stuff. But I truly can't imagine having a loved one go missing. And I'm talking like even like a pet, like an animal, like a pet or something like that, just wondering what happened to it, where
Yeah.
they are, all that kind of stuff.
So for like the Guthrie family, and for this one where this family lost their young son. When I say young, um, 27 years old, which to us now is young.
That's young. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, I can only begin to imagine, I should say. So you're going to find those stats for us for the next episode. Do you have any, do you have your story ready? Do you know what you're doing yet? I know you've obviously had other things.
I do not, because I've been writing like obituaries and shit the past couple weeks.
Yes.
So obituaries and memorial readings. Um, so no, I don't, but I will find that stat for you for the next episode, and I will be ready with my next episode. I have an idea about what I'm going to do, but I just want to make sure before I give hints that I'm going to be settled with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, no pressure if you need more time.
I think I'll be fine. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things. If Susan would just let me have a night to myself.
Dear Susan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, dear Susan. Well, I guess I can go ahead and tell everyone where they can continue to listen and watch us. That would be on YouTube, um, Apple for pod, Apple for podcasts, Apple, Apple, and Spotify
Mm-hmm.
at the Forbidden Pod. You can follow us on the social sphere on Facebook and Instagram at the Forbidden Pod. View old archives of our shows at www.theforbiddenpod.com. I am doing a horrible job at this tonight. And send in your ideas like Kale did to hello@theforbiddenpod.com. I think that is so awesome that they did write in and give us this interesting story, because when I think when I think about people going missing, I'm always just fascinated on wanting to know what the very last thing that they were doing or that someone knew that they were doing before they disappeared. And a lot of times, like for instance, they were in their house and they went to bed and they just got taken, or, kind of like the Savannah Guthrie thing. This one, very different, because it like, I put myself into situations where I'm like, oh my God, that could have happened to me. Like I've probably been in the woods somewhere completely messed up, like I know I've been at a concert in the woods before and completely fucked up on mushrooms. And like, what if I had wandered away and something like that happened? I mean, it's scary as shit.
Yeah. Amanda, thank you for listening.
Thank you for that amazing story. I hope that we could bring some, you know, joy to the family by at least keeping it out in the news.
Yeah, some awareness. Uh,
Yeah.
and you never know, like specifically on YouTube, sometimes these episodes take off. So maybe
Yeah.
that's the hope, get some more
Yeah.
eyeballs on it and
Yeah.
awareness to the case.
Hopefully there will be some sort of closure, whether it's good or bad for the family, because I think that is the the time and the not knowing and the lack of closure, I think would be very, very difficult.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Blake, thank you for such a great story. And listeners, as always, we thank
Thank you.
you. So this one is for my dad, Eddie Brown. This episode's for you.
Shall we?
I'm sure he's so proud of me sitting here in my bra.